Welcome to UNCAGED. Today we're speaking with Vlad Spiridon. Vlad is the Global Finance Transformation Lead at Novartis. I think Novartis, for anybody who knows anything about pharmaceuticals or really moving anything to get forward in the medical healthcare space, knows Novartis. And Vlad is playing a key role in driving the transformation shift in the business. And clearly that is extremely important in terms of all areas of the company. We'll go through a lot of stuff today about finance, and Vlad is coming to us from Switzerland, so it seems appropriate to be talking about finance, one of the financial centers of the world. But before we get into what you're working on at Novartis, Vlad, tell us a little bit about you and your career.
Yeah, thank you, Bent, and thank you for the nice introduction. So as you mentioned, my name is Vlad Spiridon. I'm an international finance executive with about 20 years of experience. I worked in 6 different countries. Last 10 in Switzerland. I had local, regional, and global levels of jobs at top multinationals, not only Novartis, but before that also Electrolux. As member of the executive board here of directors or leadership team, I turn around and reshape businesses, improve profitability, identified and I have driven growth and increased efficiency. I'm also leveraging my MBA in psychology studies as I'm trying to bring emotional and social intelligence to support people achieve their best self. On a personal level, I'm married and I have 2 kids.
Oh, that's so great. And, Vlad, you have talked a lot about how, kind of going into the finance space and really kind of driving efficiencies, finding more accelerated ways for growth. Tell me a little bit about what you're working on right now at Novartis.
Yes, I'm currently working on increasing efficiency and agility of the finance function globally. And this we achieve through process optimization, automation, and standardization mainly. A few key levers to achieve that would be, again, like we mentioned, so automation opportunities, simplifying and centralizing planning processes to free up resources, redirecting the finance team's focus to high value performance management work. Likewise, we implement trainings to uplift different business partners, finance literacy and focus support needs to more complex value add activities. We're leveraging digital and center of excellence support, as well as identify synergies and duplications, aligning on feasibility to eliminate with the key stakeholders. So for example, without entering into many details, businesses, including big multinationals, such as Novartis, would have processes which are suboptimal. So looking at apparently trivial aspects such as automation of invoice flows, demand forecasting, headcount planning, we would find there actually opportunities to enhance the quality and save many hours of work within the organization through the process I've mentioned before. So automation, centralization, and then as well seeing what we can drop totally maybe.
Yeah, and Vlad, I mean, I look at your career, you've had an incredible international career. You've worked in, I think it's 6 different markets. And do you see big differences between these markets in terms of finance and some of the things that you're trying to implement?
Yeah, so I was born in Romania. And then just to mention the markets, then I went to Barcelona in Spain for studies. And afterwards, I lived and worked in Vienna in Austria, and afterwards in Brussels, in Belgium, and after in Basel, Switzerland, and likewise in Dublin, in Ireland. So the cultural differences are there. So maybe Austria and Switzerland are more alike culturally, right? And then maybe Spain, Romania, and Belgium a bit more Latin, let's say. So from this point of view, Dublin being and Ireland a bit specific. So probably is more like maybe US culture, although I've not had the chance to experience US culture yet.
Yeah.
So there are differences. There are all of these are great countries to live in and great cities. I love interacting with different people and different cultures. So yeah, there are differences.
Yeah.
But it's only a learning,
Yeah, no, and with those differences, you got to try to find some way to integrate it, some way to pull it all together. I can imagine those are fun and challenging moments, but clearly we are living through interesting times, Vlad, and there's been a lot of changes in the financial world over the last several years, some of it driven by things like the pandemic, and now certainly the economic environment is challenging. What are you finding right now are the key issues that are bubbling up in your organization on the finance side?
Probably one of the key issues on the finance side would be leveraging and integrating AI into the current processes. So the business is constantly adapting and changing, and we need to also adapt and change as a finance function. So this would be one of the key things. AI brought and still brings a lot of enhancement and advancements, but we would need to still balance the enhancements and efficiencies it brings with a certain, let's say, fear and a certain pushback, which AI also drives, because also AI could be misused, but also it's not fully understood by many people. So
Yeah.
one thing is trying to implement all this and finance being the lead into this in many businesses. And the other one, and totally separate, would be also the buy-in of the different stakeholders of what we do, of all these, let's say, changes or progress, because that's a task per se. One thing is to find a solution to something. And sometimes people might push it back or reject it consciously or unconsciously because they don't know it, because they are not familiar with it. So then in that case, this stakeholder management and making sure that the solution is adopted is a key process per se. And
What
sometimes
where
it happens. Yeah.
And on that cycle, Vlad, where do you think we are in terms of employees, executives embracing this? Are we still at that very early learning phase, or are you seeing certain areas where they're very comfortable with using AI?
So it depends. I would guess also on the function and on each organization.
Mm-hmm.
What I've seen lately is the level of literacy with AI increased a lot,
Yeah.
and also the level of, let's say, the ease with which the employees would treat the AI matters, and all the AI processes have, let's say, improved a lot in the past. When we were still at the beginnings, this was much tougher, and depends when looking around and talking with friends. Also different organizations and different sectors might be in different stages of AI adoption. For example, companies closer to AI, maybe such as Microsoft, Google, and so on, so working in such domains might be per default as an industry a bit more advanced, right? But within the industry, so let's say within pharma, from what I know, for example, Novartis would be pretty advanced. So in our case.
So, Vlad, I can see that you've worked not only at companies like Novartis, but certainly other major organizations. And I'd just be curious. You've always been focused on this like kind of finance transformation, process optimization areas. Why is this your passion? How did this kind of become the area that you think you focused on?
Well, a key aspect which brings me a lot of joy at work is learning actually from the new situations and overcoming challenges. Finance, as mentioned before, is a function which needs to adapt as all the rest of the organizations, and it has to be at the forefront. It deals with a lot of processes and a lot of systems, and it needs to innovate and transform itself to remain relevant in the future as well. So
Mhm.
learning has to be a constant there, and for the people who enjoy learning, probably it's a good place to be. And what can be more rewarding, just think, than sitting in a room with bright people, hearing their thoughts and trying to solve a challenge together, or driving into unknown such as AI and trying to discover it. For
Yeah.
me, that's very rewarding, right? And then storing certain insights during that discussions for later, and later when the time comes, putting those together and achieving a solution which at the beginning of the discussion was not conceivable. So it's excellent.
Yeah.
And perhaps the more difficult the task or challenge, the more learning can one extract from that situation and the more rewarding that might be.
That's excellent. And I imagine there must be just kind of something about the finance area that you love, perhaps kind of a data heavy area of way to think about how everything comes together. No?
Yeah, look, maybe it goes back to my childhood a bit. So I was very good at maths. And when I was at high school, we were a special ed class doing extensively mathematics and physics. So much
Hmm.
more than the other, let's say, areas. It was pretty easy for me. At the
Hmm.
same time, as I've mentioned a bit before, I had psychology studies, which is maybe not as usual for finance though. But going back to the numbers, it's pretty easy, pretty real, and pretty, let's say, tangible for me, because all the time there is a calculation behind. You can go straight to a solution many times, so it's less vague than other parts of the business. So we have the numbers, you can read them. You have a certain truth there, although even in numbers there is relativity,
Hmm.
right? So I enjoy that a lot, and I find it easy, basically. Yeah.
So, Vlad, I mean, we've talked a lot about really some of the key issues that people are focused on right now, but we are working our way through this interesting economic cycle. Certainly, that's impacted different regions differently. I know that people are very excited here in the US. There seems to be a little bit of growth again. But in other parts of the world, it's a little bit more challenging. And certainly we have a lot of question marks on the horizon still. What are you seeing in the near future? And what are your thoughts?
In the near future, and close to us, maybe here closer to Switzerland than US, maybe, right?
Yeah,
There's a war ongoing, so hopefully this war would end. Obviously, this would impact many lives.
yeah,
It impacts also business, it impacts macroeconomics, it impacts everything. So I'm not sure how it's felt over the ocean, but here it's quite a topic. Immediately
yeah,
after we got, let's say, rid of, in a way, it's not totally out, but got rid of the COVID-19, this issue started. So the people
yeah,
felt maybe there is no break in between. So
yeah,
one issue goes, another comes, right?
yeah,
In the macro issue. So once this is gone, we are all hoping here that this would be gone. And that my hope is that the future for the next generation, our children, would be better. And I know it might sound a bit too broad or maybe even bombastic as well, but each of us can and should contribute to that.
yeah,
Although sometimes it might seem just a drop in the ocean. But let's think about it. Rain and the ocean are nothing else than many drops, right? Put together.
yeah.
So if we do our drop, maybe we fill this ocean and we make a difference.
Yeah, well said. And certainly, I think we're feeling all of those challenges around the world. And we do certainly hope that some of these regional wars get resolved and hopefully we start to see growth across the board. And maybe some of these climate issues that seem to be bogging everyone down, we can get more commitment from everyone going forward. Vlad, it's been amazing to talk to you. If someone wanted to learn more about what you and your team are working on, where's the best place to reach you?
I guess on LinkedIn, they could feel free to reach me out on LinkedIn. That's one of the best places, and it wouldn't matter where the person would sit, right? Could be
Yeah.
US, could be here. And I have many connections and people I'm working with from different time zones. So I'm used to that. Would be an excellent place.
Well, Vlad, I think you have such an interesting perspective on all of these things. Combining finance and psychology together is really quite a blessing in terms of understanding how to apply those to an organization and make it work. Thank you so much for being on the UNCAGED show today. We've been speaking with Vlad Spiridon. He is the Global Finance Transformation Lead at Novartis. Vlad, thank you so much for being on the UNCAGED show today, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you very much, Bant, for being an amazing host. So I've enjoyed it so much. And yeah, all the best there across the
Uh,
ocean. And maybe if you are around here someday, just give me a call or
I
something.
think so. I'll take you up on that. I mean, you live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, so we'll make that happen, Vlad. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.